When we think about real estate investing, it's easy to picture the big stuff, right? Buying the property, collecting the rents. But there's this unseen engine working behind the scenes. It's the thing that really decides if an investment takes off or just completely crashes and burns. And that engine? It's property management. Honestly, getting how this works is the real key to success. I mean, it sounds easy enough, doesn't it? Find a tenant, cash a check. But let's be real for a second. Could you actually manage a rental property all by yourself? I'm talking about the late-night emergency calls, mountains of legal paperwork, the financial strategy. Yeah, it's a whole lot more than you probably think. The truth is, it's pretty rare to find someone who's a master of finance and law and building maintenance and customer service all rolled into one. And if you don't have that special blend of skills, you're just opening yourself up to really costly mistakes, legal headaches, and, well, a failing investment. Okay, before we get any deeper, let's nail down one core concept, because everything in property management really spins around this one idea, the leasehold estate. It's just the fancy legal term for a tenant's right to live in a place. It is the absolute foundation of that whole owner-tenant relationship. So, what makes this job so incredibly important? Well, it's all about a shift in mindset. Stop seeing a manager as just some helper and start seeing them as a crucial strategic partner for your investment. And this is where their role gets really strategic. We're way beyond just collecting rent here. They're looking at the big picture. Assessing insurance, dealing with complicated financing, even acting like a scout, pointing out opportunities to sell or buy new properties. They are, for all intents and purposes, a COO for your investment.
And boy, is there a huge demand for these skills. I mean, it's across the board, from stores to Airbnbs. But the biggest piece of the pie, by far, is residential apartments. We're talking over half the market. This is really the heartland of professional property management.
Okay, so we get why the job is so important. But now let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What does a property manager actually do day to day? This quote just nails their mission perfectly. It's a three-way balancing act. You got to keep costs low, get the absolute best rent you can, and make sure the property is worth more tomorrow than it is today. Pretty much every single thing they do serves one of those three goals. And here's where you see that relationship in action. On one side, you've got the manager's list of duties, keeping the building up, handling the money, all the paperwork. And on the other, you've got the tenant's responsibilities, paying on time, not trashing the place, giving notice. A good manager is basically the referee, making sure both sides play by the rules. Which brings us to a massive, massive part of the job, the law. A property manager absolutely has to be an expert in this complicated, always changing world of landlord-tenant rules. It's the only way to protect the owner from some really serious legal trouble. And listen, none of this just happens on a handshake. It all starts with a formal, signed management contract. This is not just a piece of paper. It is the bedrock of the entire relationship. It spells out every single duty and expectation, so there's no confusion later, including how the manager gets paid, which is usually a percentage of the gross revenue. Now, a huge part of what they do is juggling all these strict legal deadlines. Get one wrong, and the whole thing can fall apart. So first up, 30 days. That's the minimum notice you have to give to end a tenancy if someone's been there less than a year. Next, that number doubles. If your tenant has been renting for a year or more, the law says you gotta give them 60 days notice. It just gives people who've settled in a bit more time and stability to figure out their next move. And finally, the number that everyone dreads, 3. A 3-day notice to quit is basically the starting pistol for an eviction. It's this formal legal warning that tells a tenant they have just 3 business days to either pay up or get out. It's step 1 in a very, very serious process. Of course, the absolute best way to avoid all that legal drama is to get the right tenant in the first place, right? Proper screening is probably the single most important thing a manager does to protect an owner's investment. In a state like California, for instance, they can charge applicants a non-refundable screening fee of up to $30. So, a manager handles all the daily stuff, they navigate the legal minefields, but the truly great ones, they do more. They are actively looking for ways to boost the financial value of the actual property. A key concept they use is understanding this thing called the rent gap. So you've got contract rent on one hand. That's what the tenant is actually paying. But then you have economic rent. That's what the unit could be getting on the open market right now. A great manager lives in that gap, always analyzing the market to push what they're getting closer to what's possible.
And this is another huge piece of the puzzle. Proactive maintenance. It isn't just about fixing a leaky faucet. It's an investment strategy. You know, the whole a stitch in time saves nine thing? Taking care of small problems today stops them from becoming huge, expensive disasters down the road. It's all about protecting the long-term value.
So when you put all these pieces together, you start to see this really powerful strategy emerge. It all starts with proactive maintenance and picking the right tenants. Then you add sharp market analysis to get the best rent, and you tie it all together with clear financial reporting. Each step just builds on the one before it.
Which kind of brings us to our final question here. After looking at all the strategy, the legal know-how, the financial smarts that go into this, you really have to ask yourself, is hiring a property manager just another cost, or is it one of the absolute smartest investments an owner can possibly make to protect and grow their asset?